Hi class, and welcome back for a science review preview. Today is April 23rd, Thursday, and I just wanted to go over a little bit of what we've had in the notes. We've had a lot over there the last couple of weeks, and again, missing you guys in class. It's a very quiet class here right now. A little bit of a review preview. We do this every once in a while, you know that, and a review preview really just wants to go through some of the things that we've seen, why we've seen them, where we're going with it, and what we're doing with it. So if you check out right here, we talked a little bit, more than a little bit, about this chemical reaction, photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water making sugar and oxygen, giving off oxygen. And one of the reasons that we've gone back in our notes and talked a little bit about things like the Big Bang and the periodic table is if you are asked as a student to just look at this, it's just a bunch of numbers and letters. There's no real context, there's no real background behind it. So one of the things we've tried to just touch on, and certainly we'll go into more detail in chemistry and physics when you get into 7th and 8th grade, is what does the CO2 mean? Carbon dioxide, well, what does that mean? For example, one of the things we've talked a lot about is atoms and molecules. We just touched on it. If I were to just give you this and say, okay, remember this, there'll be a test on Friday, yeah, you'd probably be able to remember this. You'd probably be able to put this in your notes and write it down and then copy it on a test, and then immediately forget it, especially over summer vacation. What I want us to have is a little bit of background. So we talked a little bit about the Big Bang, and after the Big Bang, not the best pen, but after the Big Bang, we drew a picture of the periodic table. There's only this one type of atom, hydrogen mainly, and later on, as the atoms get together in stars and form bigger and bigger elements, which we list in the periodic table of elements here, little by little, the universe built up more complicated elements. All those elements are listed in that big table that science teachers love to put up in their classroom. It's got that kind of general shape. It's got all the little squares on it. And as far as we know, there's about 100 different kinds of elements. If you look at the elements, everything from the familiar ones that we've heard of, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, the big four that we've been talking about in this class, all the way to gold, copper, rubidium, all the ones that you might not hear about quite as much. All those elements, you can kind of think of them as nature's Legos. If you take Legos and you snap them together, you can take a few basic Legos and make almost any shape you can imagine. That's what we've been talking about in this class. So before we just jumped right in and said, okay, everyone remember photosynthesis, we want to know what it is. In this case right here, it's carbon and oxygen sticking together, if you will. They call it a molecule when they stick together. So we have an atom that sticks together and makes a molecule. You might remember that. This is all review. I'm not giving you anything new here. You've got carbon and two oxygens stuck together here. Two hydrogens and an oxygen stuck together here, making sugar and oxygen. Later on, when you get into some chemistry in 7th grade, 8th grade, high school and beyond, we'll learn a little bit more about these equations right here. We'll learn about how to, for example, balance this equation, and all balancing the equation is making sure that the same number and type of atom on both sides of that arrow. It's just like in math class, and when we do the algebra video today, we'll be talking about that. But it's just like in math class, when you try to make sure that you've got the same, if you have an equal sign separating two sides of an equation, that's what an equation is, you've got the same value on one side as the other side. So if you check out molecules, each of these circled parts right here is a molecule. And these molecules have names. Carbon dioxide, water, sugar, oxygen. Oxygen's got this little 2 in it. Why? Well, usually oxygen likes to travel on in pairs. We call that a diatomic molecule. And again, that's for chemistry, but we talked a little bit about where these atoms came from, the history of the whole universe, to get some context. What are these things that we're asking you to remember? Well, they represent something in the real world. What we're moving into, especially in 6th grade here, is, okay, once these atoms get together and make these big molecules, there's some that we really care about, in particular in biology. In particular, you've all heard of the DNA. Certainly lately with COVID-19, it's been in the news a lot lately. We've talked about RNA and DNA and how a virus works. And they call DNA the code of life. It's just a very, very, very long molecule. CO2 is a molecule, but in H2O, we've drawn H2O in class probably 100 times. We always used to call it the Mickey Mouse molecule, 2 H's and a nose stuck together. DNA is a molecule with millions of atoms stuck together. but it's still just a molecule. When you see in the book, so this has all been background to get us ready for this. When you see in the book when it's talking about ATs and CGs getting together in DNA, again, the reason I wanted to make sure that we have a little bit of a background is ATs and CGs, they just represent the names of molecules, that's all. I know everybody in the class could spend their time dutifully remembering, oh, A always fits with T, C always fits with G. That's one of the things we're going to go into when DNA gets put together. But what is an A? What is a T? What is adenine? What are thymine? Well, they're molecules. That's all they are. They're pieces of a molecule that fit together. There's just rules with molecules. With molecules, it's all about shape. That's why we touched on it with water. It's all about the shape of water. It's got this kind of lopsided shape, makes it positive on one end, negative on the other end. The DNA molecules get this special shape, which I know you've seen a million times in books. You've seen it in your textbook. You've seen it online. You've definitely seen lots and lots of pictures of it. That spiral staircase kind of shape. That spiral staircase kind of shape is put together with these rungs of a ladder. And the rungs of the ladder, these letters represent the molecules. It's what has often been referred to. It's referred to this in your book. It's referred to in my notes online all over the place as the code of life. It's the code of life because what we're studying in 6th grade is, okay, how does that code get passed on? It's not like your parents exactly gave you the exact molecules that make you. What they did is they gave you a pattern. They give you a code. They give you a sequence of these ATs, Cs, and Gs that fit together in a particular way to make you. So that's what we're studying here in class right now. When you check out the code of life, one of the things that also crosses over a little bit with some of the things we've been doing is in the STEM class, for example, we're doing computer coding. We had just touched on it a little bit, how a computer takes instructions to do something for you. Well, this code right here takes these instructions that are put together with those 4 letters, A, T, C's, and G's. It takes those 4 letters, puts it together in a particular pattern. That particular pattern essentially builds you. It says, hey, make these amino acids, which make these proteins, which make you. So the quick review preview, the big takeaway from this today, if I've gone over a lot or if I've gone over quickly, the takeaway is simply this. We've had a lot on, hey, what are atoms and where do they come from? Atoms then get together to build up to make molecules, and what we're going to be moving into over the next week is, okay, great, you've got these molecules, you've got these special molecules, some of them that are alive. DNA is a special type of molecule that can make a copy of itself. And what we're going to be learning in the next week or two is, okay, if DNA makes a copy of itself and it passes that copy on, what are the rules? How does it pass those patterns on to make you? So that's where we're heading with this. I hope that helps out with a little bit of a review preview. Don't forget, please keep a science notebook. The left side is the notes that we've done. The right side is usually definitions or a lab. We'll be talking a little bit more about molecules and then moving into, okay, this big molecule right here, DNA. Where does it hang out? Well, it hangs out usually in the nucleus of our cells. And what does it do? Makes the wonderful variety of life that we see out there. Take care. See you next time.